Welcome back, everybody.
This is the Pork and Bean Show.
We're back here with Ashlea Stinnett, and we're going to continue our conversation. We've been talking about star people and all kinds of interesting subjects. And I guess
Sasquatch, spiritual growth, healing, and demon wars.
Yeah. Welcome back, Ashlea.
Turn your mic on, sweetie.
Here we go. Can you hear me?
Welcome back.
Awesome.
So what's on your mind for the second half? Did you want to get into some of those pictures, or you just want to keep talking?
Let me do a quick introduction into my connection with Barb and going down that path, and then we can start going into the pictures.
Absolutely.
You talking Barb Soup?
Barb Shoop.
Shoop.
Barb Shoop and the Shoop Troop.
Not soup.
Shoop.
You said soup.
Oh, Shoop.
Is that her food name for the show? Barb Soup?
Let's call it
There
soupy.
you go. You can call it soup.
Soupy.
I love Barb. I love everyone in the Shoop Troop, and it has been a phenomenal blessing to connect with them. Phenomenal.
It's still going on.
It's when I had that experience in 2013, I quickly started having a lot of other experiences, and they weren't light. Meaning that they were very heavy. They were big. They weren't, just a stick break or something. They were just, again, kind of like that escalated learning, and having kind of this knowledge of knowing that they were higher dimensional beings. The Sasquatch were higher dimensional beings, and that they were not these monsters that we are presented continuously from outside media and everything. I went in searching for others who knew and understood Sasquatch like I did, even in those formative beginning years. And doing a quick search on YouTube, I came across the Squatching with Barb and Gabby at that time channel. And here was this amazing woman who's having these experiences with at first just with her dog out in her backyard, and then that started evolving into a planned camp out with other individuals. And then they would have experiences, and they'd sit around and openly and honestly discuss what they were experiencing. And yes, bring me into that. I want to know fully what everyone is experiencing. And so I was an avid fan of the show. I was tuning in. I made sure to know when the next one was coming out, and having this time frame of between like 2013 and 2018, I'm doing my kind of like my lone wolf type of experiences with all the stuff. And then Barb opens up the group to new membership, and I jumped on it. I was like, I've got to. I mean, she's not far. She's up in Washington. So I sent in my 500-word essay on why I thought I should be a good candidate for the group, and I was picked, and that fundamentally changed my life for the ultimate good. And so the first camp out that I went with them was June of 2018. So here we are. I had my first experience with the Sasquatch June 28th, 2013. And here I am, and it's like, I think it was June 18th of 2018 that I go out on this first camp out with them in Greenwater. And I knew that the Sasquatch had the capability of healing. I knew that that was something that they helped facilitate for people. And I knew that I needed healing personally. And Specifically, it was with my alcohol consumption. Like I had mentioned before, in my 20s, I partied. And I had a drink in my hand for every one of those occasions. And I had a drink in my hand for every time I was sad, or every time I was happy, or every time it was Tuesday, whatever, right? I definitely had that as a part of my life, and I knew that I needed to release myself from it as well. And I also knew I didn't have the strength to do it. And when I went into that camp, I also didn't have the strength to even admit it, that that was what I needed help with. And when I went into camp, my prayer and intention was to the Sasquatch of that camp. I said, I know that you guys can do healing, and please heal me in the ways that I need healing. Because I couldn't even just say like, like I have this problem with alcohol and I probably need to get some healing from it. I couldn't even admit it in that form. I said, please help me with what I need healing with. So literally, like I think it was the first night of that camp trip. There's kind of two levels, and a lot of people camp up here, and then there's kind of like this dip down into a valley next to the creek. And I decided that that's where I was going to be, was down in this little valley, and there was no one else around, just me in my tent. And the other campers were very, they were in their own areas. So I get into my tent that night, and a series of events starts happening. It is pitch black dark. There's no light, none at all. Like, you open your eyes, it's as dark as you had them closed. And I'm laying in my small tent. It was, they call it a 4-person tent, but it's really like a 1-person tent. You can't even stand up in it. So I had my air mattress on the floor, on the ground, and I was laying on the air mattress. And it was freezing. It was so cold, and I was wrapped up, but my face was still exposed, and I was still like feeling so cold on my face. And I looked up, I like opened my eyes in my tent, and there was this orb, like a see-through orb that had thousands of points of light inside of it. And it was up in the corner, like offset center in my tent. And I'm staring at it, and it's creating enough ambient light from it that I can now see inside my tent.
How big was it?
It was little,
Okay.
it was little. And again, it was like a Christmas tree ornament, that like a glass see-through Christmas tree ornament that had thousands of points of light on the inside, right? And it's something that is familiar with other campers. They have seen these things inside of their tents as well. And here I am, I'm experiencing it. And I heard some thumps from outside, that like thumps on the duff of the forest floor. And then I started hearing some voices, 2 to 3 voices behind my tent. And it was a casual, monotone conversation. There was a feminine, more feminine sounding voice, and a more masculine sounding voice. And it felt like there were 3 that were there. So I'm hearing this, I'm laying there, I saw this light, like I'm hearing the thumps. And then this white light comes over from the back of the tent where the voices are coming from, and like waves over my entire tent, and lighting it up from the outside, and just waves over. And again, I'm laying there still, and then I feel this, and I feel like 2 very large fingers that are at least the size in width of my 2 fingers do this and go down my face on either side, from my temple down here. I felt that. And then I felt an energetic scan of my body that went from the top all the way down to the bottom. And the tingling vibratory feeling that goes along with that.
Yeah.
So this series of events happen. I also, boom, fall asleep. I'm out. I don't wake up until the morning. And then I wake up in that morning and I'm like, well, all of those things happened. I get to categorize this and think about it and integrate it. If you go back to the June 2018 videos that Barb put up on her channel, you can see my witness testimony from the day after. So this event set up a series of events that lasted way outside of the camp trip, right? I came back from that camp trip and I went back into my kind of my routine of coming home and having something to drink when I got off of work. So this was, I went back into that routine. That camp out was in the middle of June. Now it comes to July 3rd. And I had continued my drinking up until July 3rd. July 3rd, I went outside with my dog and I had a cider in my hand and he goes to do his business and I look up and not very far, like just above the tree, just above the roof of the house, a massive white orb starts traveling very slow right over top the path of where I'm at, to the point where I have to do this and stick my head up like this, and I'm turning it around and I look until it goes past the house and I can't see it anymore. And again, this isn't anything new. I've seen these types of things before. I recognize it and go about my business. Like I bring Walter back in, our dog, and a couple hours later I go to bed. So the next morning I wake up and it's the 4th of July. I had the day off. My partner had to work. She was getting ready for work. I woke up. I went to I tried to go to the bathroom. And when I stood up, I couldn't, like the world was spinning. The world was just absolutely spinning. And I'm like, did I really like drink that much last night that like, am I still drunk? Like, what is going on? I can't even stand up. So I went back to bed and I was like, I'm just going to sleep it off. And I went back to sleep. I woke up about an hour later. I try to get up. The world is still spinning. The world is fully spinning. I go back to bed again. I wake up again about an hour later and it's doing it still. So then I called up my partner and I'm like, something's wrong and I need help. She came home. My mom's boyfriend at the time, he came over and he drove us to the hospital. And I got the diagnosis there that I had vertigo. Okay. Vertigo. It's something that happens to people, right? Like, well, the further you look into it, like people don't know why vertigo happens. And yes, maybe something gets like manipulated in the ear or something falls, in the reason why you have vertigo is because the same thing that gets like when you drink too much alcohol and the world spins, it's because that same area is being affected, right? So I had vertigo. I went home and I had this intense vertigo for 4 months, from July to October. July, August, September, October. Yeah, it was like October that I started coming out of it. But during this 4-month period, I couldn't work. I couldn't drive. I couldn't walk without a cane. I couldn't do anything except for, and I certainly couldn't drink, right? So I had to sit at home and really contemplate like why I liked to have myself get into that state. And here I am now. Every moment I open my eyes, it's like I just drank a bottle of whiskey, right? So and I have to really contemplate like this whole series of events that started with me in the forest saying, I need help with what I need help with, but I can't even like, I can't even voice what I need help with, but they knew. And there was a council meeting or something that happened behind me. And I don't know if it was Sasquatch. I don't know if it was Star Nation. I don't know because I didn't see it, but I had all of these things happen. And then here comes the 4th of July, literally like Independence Day, right? And now I have this vertigo, and now I'm not drinking alcohol anymore. And in the way that I feel that they presented this healing to me was in the same like vein as, your dad just caught you smoking and now he's going to sit you down and make you smoke an entire pack of cigarettes, right?
That's a good analogy.
So they were like, you really like drinking that much. How would you feel? How do you think you'll like it if you feel like that 24/7 for 4 months? Do you still like it? And no, it shocked my system out of that addiction. And here I am in 2023, and I have not had a drink since that experience and since that vertigo of waking up 4th of July. I haven't touched alcohol since. And that created a whole new path for me to take in my connection with them and what they could teach me now, because now I didn't have that burden of addiction, and I didn't have that direct link to the negative influences that definitely come in when we put ourselves in altered states of mind and altered states of consciousness. So I like that blackboard got just washed.
How did your connection with everything, like, the universe, star people, Sasquatch, it must have improved after you quit drinking, because alcohol is not conducive to connection.
No, it isn't. And it is a weapon, right? Like if we think of altered states of consciousness, that's what we do. Like we love altered states of consciousness. That like from the get-go, we were looking for the sacred mushrooms. We were the bears in the forest are eating the mushrooms too. There's an aspect of altering our state of consciousness in many different ways. And here's this one particular way that can be used in shamanic form, but certainly is not presented to the world as a shamanic tool. It's presented to the world as a fun, fair thing to do at any opportunity and moment. And so when you start imbibing to the point of self-destruction, you're just cutting yourself off from everything, right? And being controlled by something else. And so taking that out of my life was just this, it was a turbo boost in my engine. It was boom. Okay, now you have a clarity and we can teach you more and you can experience more and we can get deeper into your healing and you can take this and share it with others. Right. So that was, and it wasn't the first time I had been scanned. It wasn't the first time that I had felt that like energetic thing that they do.
Yeah.
I had experienced that between 2008, but this one was specific. I asked for it too. I did, though I couldn't articulate it. I did ask for it. And yeah, like I also could not ask for individuals to go out into the woods with and to have these experiences. And that first camp out with the group turned into as many campouts as I could participate in up until today. And what we have been able and collectively just kind of like, we have these experiences, openly any type of judgment, right? That
We're having some real problems with your audio.
like
You have a
experience
bad connection.
where
Yeah, your internet's cutting out. Keep going though.
Can you get any
Can you hear
closer to
me?
your modem by any chance? Well, your video and your audio is cutting out. Can you get any closer to your modem, or is that not happening?
I think I've got, I don't know. Do you want me to like come back on? Do you want to send me another link or?
The same link should work, shouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah, you can use the same one. You could try and back out and back in. Come back in.
Can you get closer to your modem or something? Do you usually have internet problems? Because you're saying some really
Let me,
amazing
you know
stuff.
what?
I didn't hear much of it.
I'll back out too and see if that helps anything.
It might.
Hello, testing 1, 2.
Do you want to?
So far, so good. Keep talking.
Can you hear me? Is it doing good?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like, to connect with a group who have had life experiences and who can sit there and listen to you without judgment is like the biggest gift in the world, right? Like, because there's so much conditioning within, family and friends and people we love, but like they have boundaries to what they can bring in and realize is like a truth, right? Well, these are these truths, these are these things that are happening. What a blessing to have a group of people that we can connect with and share with, right? So I have the highest respect and appreciation and gratitude for Barb and for everyone that she has brought together, and what we've been able to do together. It's just amazing. And even if that is as simple as playing some drums around a campfire, that's a lot of healing. That is a tremendous amount of healing that we get to participate in and like anchor in that energy. Not just for us and not just for the Sasquatch that we're connecting with, but I mean, like that stuff dominoes out. So, yeah, if you want, like we can go through some of the photos and I could do some commentary on them.
I've got a video.
Well, while you're doing that, I just got to say that's such a compelling story. There's no question. It's real. It was connected to the Sasquatch people. I think if it was the Star Nations, they would have just taken you on a craft in your dream time.
Who knows? I mean, like it could have happened.
I'm going to bring the video
because you heard the voices right behind your tent, and it was at a Sasquatch camp out. It pretty much points to Sasquatch in my book.
I've
By
heard
the way, there's a question by Admiral Nelson's daughter, Sandy. It's related to the UFO stuff. So I'll ask that, even though we've gone past that, but we're coming into a video with some orbs and stuff. She was saying, is there a particular time of night when you're more apt to see them? And do you also see craft and stuff during the day?
I have absolutely seen craft during the day. We've got some incredible video of just some weird stuff flying around there. I've seen the light ships. I've seen the Tic Tac, Tic Tac, like the long ones. I've seen very, very like dimensional morphing things, but also potentially sentient beings as well, right? Like I don't necessarily look at the light orbs up in the sky and say, oh, that's a ship with some other things that are flying around in it. I think it might just be a being itself, right? I don't know. It's all speculative because again, like they haven't come in to fully introduce themselves to me in a fully conscious state. And I know that they know what they're doing, right? Because and this will tie in nicely with this video that's coming up. They only give us what we are able to integrate, right? They're not going to blow our minds into a state of psychological destruction, right? And
Or
just
work
like
beyond your fear level.
yeah,
too.
like exactly. They're not going to do things that are beyond what we can handle. And it's really interesting to know that like the body will do things whether you want it to do that or not. If you think that you're so like totally grounded and you can have a face-to-face and you can have a full-on conversation and all of that, that might not be the case when you're actually in the situation and you have this higher dimensional being right next to you. Your body is going to react in a completely different manner. It's going to go into very physical things, right? And reactions. So to tie in with this video and kind of set it up, this was from, I think, last year or 2 years ago. And this was an unofficial like camp. It wasn't a barb camp, but it was an offshoot with Kevin and Sandy and a few other of the members of the group. And we went up to this area that was close to the Washington coast.
Okay, so we'll get into that.
Yeah. And so like, you know, we're there and I think it was like the second or third night, something like that. Kevin and I think Mitch and Rob, I think the three of them had gone up the trail and they were drumming, right? It's what we do. We bring in the music. So they were drumming and setting their intentions, and they look into this tree line and there's this red orb, and it's going 50 feet up in the air. It's coming back down onto the ground. It's going left. It's going right. It's coming towards them. It's going back to its spot. And it's also flashing every 3 seconds. And it's this just red orb. So they're watching it for a while and they're like, we got to go get everybody else. So they come back over to the camp, like, let's go check it out. This is happening over here. So are we still there? Oh, you got it up? Yeah. So we don't have any lights. We don't have any flashlights. We have everything completely pitch black dark, and we're all holding on to each other's shoulders, moving in this Scooby-Doo group down the road to go look at this orb in the tree line. And I remember this. And Sandy, if you're in the chat, chime in, because I've been really thinking about this for a while. That when we were walking in, I looked over to the left and you were in front of me, like we were holding on to each other, we're holding hands or something as we were walking. And to the left of us, I'm pretty sure I saw a Sasquatch in light body. And I think I said something to you, Sandy, about it. I was like, do you see that over there? And there was a light body Sasquatch that was like flanking us and walking with us as we were walking over to this site. But interesting with that, it was like, you would think that if you saw that, you would stop everything and focus on that and go, I got to put all my attention over here. But it was like a Jedi mind trick on all of us, where it was like, don't pay attention to the light body over here, right? Because we just kept going. It was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Let's keep on moving over to this orb. And we all stand at the spot and we're staring at this orb. We can't tell how far away it is. We're like, is it far away? Is it past? Is it a light that's on a mountain somewhere? I don't know, but no, it's not, because it's moving up. It's doing this. It's moving all over the place. And we watched it for a while, and then part of the group left. I remembered that I had a night vision monoscope back in my tent, and I was like, I'm gonna go grab it because I want to know like where this particularly is, like what is its location. So I went and I grabbed it, and when I came back, it was just me and Kevin, right? And I took the scope and I started on the ground to see, okay, here's this tree that I can see everything else is pitch black, but I'm going to look through the night vision to see where the trees are, so then I know where the orb is. So when I do this, I'm like, boop, 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 and I get up to it and I'm like, Kevin, this thing is like 6 feet away. This is not far. Like it is not on a mountain. It's between 6 and 10 feet away. And then I could see exactly where it was, because it was in this like tiny grove of these 5 trees. And so yeah, let's look at the video.
I've been playing it. You want me to start at the beginning again?
Yeah, started at the beginning. Do you have audio? You can hear, if you have the audio, you can kind of hear all
we
of
can
this.
try. It may not come over very well. Do you want to try the audio?
Sure.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, but my experience is that Sasquatch can take orb form.
Oh yeah.
I've actually seen them form out of a collection of orbs. So that's my experience, but it could have very well been one of them. So let's play this.
Well, yeah, there's more to it too. So we'll watch this and then I'll go back into it.
Okay. What's this little blue thing here on the bottom?
I don't know. What is that? There were more than one light, and I think in the audio you can hear when people see certain things that might not necessarily get picked up by the camera. And so with this phenomena, okay, filming this was filmed with Dana's iPhone. She had her phone on her.
I'm gonna take the audio off because you're talking. It's not working. That's fine.
So, but like looking at this through the camera, and as we can see on the film, it looks like a spinning diamond, right?
Yeah.
But when we were looking at it with our eyes, it was a solid orb. And then when I looked at it through the night vision, it was in the green tint, but it was still it was a see-through orb. So we're getting all of these different ways in which it's being recorded through our own eyesight and through the technology, and yet it's looking different in each one. So yeah, this thing was popping up, going up and down, and so when we were standing there and I was looking through the monoscope, you know, I took the monoscope down and then it came towards us very fast, and my gut reaction was to bolt. And Kevin held on to my shoulders and he's like, nope, don't do that. Because I would have just bolted, right? Where was I going to go? I didn't have light. I would have, but that was the physical reaction of it coming towards me. Even though I've been standing there looking at it for over a half an hour, I knew like there wasn't malicious intent or anything, but the fight or flight that happens with your body in the moment of having these experiences, just like take that into consideration, because it will happen. So the next day after this event, we went back to that spot where we were able to fully determine where it was happening, because I had that monoscope the night before. And when we get to that spot, there's actually like, you know, if we were over here watching it from this way, this spot came down like this, and the trees were around it. And so there was just this little like, you know, indent into the duff. Well, that place was perfect for one or more Sasquatch to be doing this and looking up and checking us out. Whether this was a Sasquatch itself as an orb, or it was a projection of the Sasquatch. We did have that light body one that was flanking us as we were walking up. We had this happen. And then the next day when we looked at the duff and the area where this was happening, we found fist prints, massive fist prints in the duff. So they were down there and looking up and seeing us. And there is this connection. And you know, they come in all different colors. We've had the white ones, here's a red one. People have seen blue ones. Yeah, it was an awesome experience.
Wow, there's a lot of sporadic movement time.
Yeah. So I think I took some screenshots and kind of blew it up as well, so you can kind of get a tighter look at what the orb.
I'm not sure exactly what order I have the pictures in, but we'll do the best we can.
Yeah, we can just run through them.
I don't know what this is. You see this down here?
I know, it's weird.
I don't see anything.
There's a
I
little
see.
dot.
There, right where my pointer is, a little blue dot.
Yeah, it doesn't show up on my screen.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I did that zoomed in so you could see how it like zoomed in, and it's outside of the screen at this point.
Okay, well, I have to get out of here and then I have to go and do the picture thing. So we'll stop this and I will go get the pictures ready.
Cool.
Yeah, it's amazing how there's a connection between the orbs and the Sasquatch and the orbs and the ET sightings.
Yeah, is it a universal form? You know, is it a universal way of moving through this dimension and potentially like a different dimensional aspect? It's
Well,
it's a
you don't know what they are because I've seen pictures with literally thousands and
Mhm.
thousands. And so
Yeah,
to me that says there's interdimensional nature spirits of some kind that and then there's other ones that seem to be more intelligently driven, like the one you just showed.
yeah.
I had a great experience with my wife and I've gone over the story, so I won't get into all the details. But we saw no orbs, then we saw hundreds of them, maybe thousands, and they all came together and formed into one being. And the lesson for me there was that it was bringing its consciousness in from all different points of consciousness. So
Very cool.
pretty incredible. What are we looking at here?
So this is if you notice that plant in the middle right there with the two shoots off of the two leaves, that's known as an avalanche lily. And a couple years back when the Barb's group and we all went to the Blue Mountains, which is on the border of Oregon, Washington, Idaho area. And that was my first time out there. Not the first for the group. That's one of their favorite spots to go. Oh my goodness, so much happened. But this particular picture was something that we all got to have a lot of fun with. This plant only shows up for like 2 weeks or something. We happened to end up camping when it was blooming, and this was a snacky food source for the Sasquatch. And they were eating them. You could pull this plant up out, and it had a sweet onion tube shoot that comes off of it, and all the tender parts had been nibbled off and the rest of it was thrown on the ground. And we were finding all of these little piles of these in very strategic spots to where they were snacking and watching our camp. So this one was found not very far from my tent setup, and we can just go through.
So I just let you know that they were around
Yep.
watching.
So
Yeah.
Barbara Shupin and Sandy Nelson are both in the chat, just to
Yay.
let you know. Yeah, and they're all excited.
So so this was at a camp out with Sandy and Kevin. We went to Carson, Washington, and this was quite the camping trip. And I don't know if the Sasquatch made this break. This was the Forest Service road that we were camped on. But it's still an interesting picture. It's still an interesting break. We know that they can manipulate.
Definitely could have done that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Boy Scout standing on a ladder, obviously.
Yeah. This camp out was really, really phenomenal. And here's orbs. Here's some orbs. This is from like about 2013, 2014. My partner and I took our dog out to the Sandy River Delta, and that was a trip. Like, it was pretty muddy all over the place, and somehow my partner found a cut gem on like in the mud on our path. We had all these orbs show up, and we got some pretty cool photos of them running around. I think the next picture will show like a close-up of one right in front of my face.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, like kind of hard to get them in order, but
Oh yeah, don't worry about order. I can just kind of go back and forth. This was at the Carson camp out that we did. And this particular glyph is the same glyph that I leave out, which is a combination of a Y and an A for me and Yvonne, my partner. And this showed up in the forest near where we were camped.
very beautiful.
And during that camp out, literally a Sasquatch saved my life from a cougar.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
Do you want to tell us
You're
about that?
holding the best for the last.
it's a truly amazing story. And I am just absolutely humbled whenever I think back to that experience, because they truly saved my life. Absolutely. So
Let's do the pictures and then you pick. You're not going to forget about being saved by a cougar.
yeah. So this was at the Carson camp out as well. And this was close to that glyph, you know, the leaners, all those different sticks leaning on one was not natural. I need to mention too, this camp out that we were at, like this spot, this wasn't a camp spot. This was a hunter's camp that was miles up into, you know, this forested area. While we were there the entire time, we saw not one person come through, not one vehicle. We didn't see anyone else. It was very, very private and very much cougar country. And so like all these things were right next, amazingly right next to our camp.
Whoa. And how far off the road was it?
We were right off of this Forest Service road. And this was just like right on the
that
other
means
side.
it's intentional. This is intentionally placed for humans because that's a human track and human campers. So that's pretty good actually.
Yeah, it looks very much like what I see up here. Same exact thing. There it is again, right?
Yeah, it's a different angle from it.
Okay. Oh, look at this.
Yep. So this was on that porch or the deck that I was telling you about when we first moved up here. We had this great deck. I'd sit out there all the time. And this was during a prayer I was sending out to the universe where I said, you know what? I will help in any way that I can make this place better. And I was just, I just sent out this prayer, and Yvonne took this picture. And she didn't know I was doing that. She just took the picture and she's like, wow, there's a big old orb like right over your crown and on the side. So
Yeah. Wild.
yeah, it's pretty cool. I love that photo. That's the fist print from that orb video. That's Kevin's hand, you know, showing how the fist was pushed into the duff and left that imprint.
Cool. Yeah. Another picture of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
it would
from
have
a
to be
different
pushed
angle.
in because you could stand on that stuff and it wouldn't really leave a print.
Yeah, we
No.
tried, you know, like it's not mushy,
No.
but yeah, there was two of them and he's got his hands kind of focused right on top of.
Oh, look at that one.
Isn't that
That's a nice
amazing?
structure. Yeah, that's a good structure.
This structure is everything to me.
That is amazing.
This was last year over in Greenwater area, and I came up for that camp out, and Lenny Schwab is the one who found this, and he instinctively went into an area, and then this was like across the creek. And you know, I got into camp and I was like, well, I'm gonna go check it out the next day. I'm not gonna check it out now, I'm gonna check it out tomorrow. And so that's what I did. And I asked Kevin and Sandy if they would bring me over to where this structure was. I heard about it, didn't know what it looked like, just said, yeah, Lenny found a structure. Okay, cool, let's go check it out.
That's a
Well,
very nice one.
yeah, we get there and I see this and I'm floored. I'm absolutely floored. And when we get to it and I try to step in side of it, I get washed over with the most compassionate love, like this warm embrace from your grandma, right? Of just like, let it go, you're okay. And I need to mention that the past like 4 years, I've dealt with a lot of loss, tons, multiple of my best friends and my animals and my family, and just a lot of death. And again, like I'm humbled to know that I have like a deeper understanding of death, and it's not just, but it's always difficult. And my heart had been really heavy. And so when I walked into this, my heart was being fixed, and they were there, and they like, and I bawled. I crumpled into a ball and I cried for like a half an hour. I don't even know. Like I let it all out. And Kevin and Sandy were just so honorable by just holding space. They didn't talk. They just held space for me. And I just let it all go. And then we just sat on the outside of it, and I just stared at it again for like another half an hour, and just like really integrated with what this means. Every single one of those sticks were intelligently placed by beings that have our, like, who love us, and with like preconceived, like they have an understanding of what's going to happen to me when I walk into it, in the future. So
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah.
That qualifies as another healing event. There's no question about it.
Fully.
It's the definition of a healing event when you release what has been just stifled
yeah,
or
Absolutely.
held.
so
That's just amazing.
this
Absolutely.
this next series of pictures is still at this structure, and these stones, massive boulders, big boulders. Everything in this area is covered in moss. Everything is covered in moss, not these stones. There were 3 of them, and there wasn't one lick of moss on any of them. And 2 of them had been brought in and placed
Definitely,
into
yeah.
a triangle. So, this to me, they brought these in. This was something for them potentially to sit on. But they took all the moss off of it.
Or there wasn't any moss on them because they came in from a different area, yeah.
Yeah, well, 2 of them, it looks like 2 of them could have been placed there. The other one's kind of like inside. And if you look over here, maybe, to your down right of the structure in this photo, you can see Kevin and Sandy there. So look
Yeah.
at this, the size of the structure. You could
Oh,
walk
man.
inside of it. It's
Yeah, oh,
massive.
yeah. Like I said, it's very
Like 7
reminiscent.
feet tall.
It's very reminiscent of what I find up here.
You
same.
find the most amazing stuff. It's mind-boggling what you just stumble across, and
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Okay, so we're gonna be ending at 1, right? So I'm trying to get through these, but still give them the respect that they deserve. So,
I can go longer if you can go longer if you want.
well, every other day I would say I can go longer,
But you
but
got the hockey.
I have a hockey game I have to get to.
All right, we'll go through the pictures really quick.
But
As many as we can get.
Can we have you back on? Like,
Yes, let's
when
do.
can we have you back? When can we have you back on? I mean, even tomorrow if you want.
Yeah,
I don't
I've
care.
got a really open schedule, so whatever works best, we can plan and continue the conversation, because
You want to do
you
a
know.
part 2 tomorrow? Because I got a feeling we're only halfway through.
Do I have anything going on tomorrow? Yeah, we can do a part 2 tomorrow for sure.
At 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock, same time?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I got something I'm supposed to do tomorrow, I think. But you don't need me. That's all. You're good.
What do you got to do?
None of your business.
You do have something you have to do?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a show, a little healing show we're doing.
Oh, okay. Well, do you want to come on, Ashley? I'll get maybe Arla to come back on or something.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So we got a track here, right?
We have a track here. This was at a location in 2018 where so many things happened, so many off the chart. Just, it sounds like science fiction. And, maybe we can get into details later, but I had never seen a print up until this point. So this is September of 2018. And when we got to this lake, it had been dry and hot up until we got there. And then there was the first big rain of the season. And we're like, oh, it's going to be perfect for tracks around the lake. And we all went down there to check out the tracks. And we didn't just find one or maybe a trackway. We found thousands of footprints that just painted an entire picture of what went on the night before down in this area. So the footprints were, we had some master trackers with us on that trip, and they went to work. Vic was running around and figuring out, like, okay, there were 4 of them, and there, 4 smaller ones, and this other maybe like a teenager, and they came in through here, and they ran and they did all this stuff over here, and they were having fun. They were playing, and they weren't just playing within their own. There was a cougar with them, and there were prints of the cougar and the Sasquatch at the same time, and they were there were skid marks and stuff, and it wasn't because there was a fight or someone was trying to hunt. It was play. And these tracks were from young ones. These are juvenile tracks. And there was a babysitter that was with them that was older. And this is where we found the butt print, where Kevin and I were walking in this one direction, and some of the other camp members were walking in other directions. And then he calls out to me. He's like, "Hey, come here. Does this look like a butt to you?" And I look over at him, and Kevin's on top of this massive tree stump looking down, and I climb up on the tree stump and I look, and there's this butt print of an individual who sat down at the edge of a mud hole and left a butt print, left a hand print, left some knee prints. There were tiny butt prints from the little ones. So this was phenomenal. I had never seen a print, and then we got to see all of these.
And that was the night before you walked through?
All of these prints were from the night before. It was like the rain happened. They had an absolute blast. And the ground was the perfect consistency to hold all these prints, dermal ridges,
to me that just means there was a gift for you, that their parents let them go and said, they want to see footprints, just go do it. There was a gift for you. I would take it personally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Huge gift.
Hey, I got a suggestion. How about we, since seeing as you're coming on tomorrow, we want to get into the cougar story and a few things, maybe just have some discussion. Why don't we save the rest of the pictures for tomorrow, for the simple fact that we really want to do them justice, and we can take our time too, right?
Totally. Sounds good.
That sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you want to hear the cougar story?
Well, no. I don't have to go right this second, but I'm just saying we'll leave the rest of the pictures for tomorrow and do them justice when we pick up again. Yeah, and by the way, we will be back on at 10 with tomorrow with Ashlea again. So I'm not going to make the event, I don't think, or maybe I will. But we will be here. Maybe I'll make the event if I get back in time. So yeah, so let's just have a little discussion on the cougar and a couple things before we wrap up for today.
All right. This story is pretty amazing. It was, again, one of these offshoot campouts with Kevin and Sandy and Anita and Kenny and Q and Peter J. And we all met up, and Kenny and Q and Anita were able to find again, like Kenny went out to try to find just a regular campsite. They're all full. So he went up the mountain and he found a spot. And then he went even farther up the mountain and found another spot for us to be able to camp in. So we get to our camp spots, and there's little activity, but there is some. and it's split up. So at our campground, it was just me, Kevin, Sandy, and Peter only stayed for the first night. So then it was just me, Kevin, and Sandy up in the spot. My tent was next to the Forest Service road, and their tent was behind and to the left of mine, maybe like 50 yards away or so. And then the camp kitchen was behind my tent as well, about the same distance. So it was like a triangulation of me and them in the camp kitchen, and then the fire pit in between. And I stayed an extra day. I had planned on leaving like the night before, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stay one more night. And there hadn't been, like I didn't have any of those other things that happened, like I didn't feel a love zap, or, we didn't necessarily see a footprint or any of those things. We did hear some tree breaks. We knew they were there. We felt them. Well, this last night that I'm there, I'm in my tent and I'm reading, and I read for like an hour and a half, something like that. And then I turned the light off, was ready to go to bed. And as soon as I turned the light off, and again, it's completely pitch black. It was so dark. It was very, very dark. As soon as I turn the light off, I start hearing two voices and walking coming up the Forest Service road. And it's a female voice and a male voice. They are so powerful. Like, the female was speaking in a very low monotone way, but the power and the lung capacity, her whisper echoed. It was so loud, and she was speaking in a language I had never heard before, and he answered. And when the closest thing that I can compare the language to was what the Elven language sounded like in the Tolkien films. It was lush, and there was a lot of, it wasn't harsh. It was very fluid. And the footsteps were very loud, and I'm laying there and I can hear, like, my tent's here, the Forest Service road's here. They're walking up this way, and they come up the road that comes up here into our camp. And I can hear that they split off. And the male, I feel that it's the male who goes to the back in the kitchen area, and I hear him start tinkering around and picking up things and setting things down. The female, here's my tent. She starts walking like this, and she starts walking across the front of my tent, and I'm laid right here on my bed. Boom, boom, boom. So like every step was very intentional, and it was.
Did you see a shadow or anything, or just here?
It was pitch black.
Okay.
Completely
That
pitch black.
that sounds like Jurassic Park. Well, what were you thinking?
Man, and I was on the ground and I could feel it, right? And so here she is, boom, boom, boom. She turns the corner, and now she's coming up this side of me. Boom, 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 boom. Now she's standing behind me. When she was like coming up this way, I'm trying, inside my head, I'm trying to telepath and say hello. I'm just trying to say a greeting in my head. And her energy was so intense. It was the most intense I've ever felt. And I've been close to them, had them on the other side of my tent many times before, but this time was very different. It was so intense. Her energy was so blasting. I couldn't even formulate hello in my head. I could just lay there. And she was standing behind me, and I'm just stunned, right? I'm stunned. I'm just laying there. And then she comes down, and I had a tote that I sat next to the bed right here to create like a table, a side table for my bed. She came down and she knocked on it from the outside of the tent. I'm like, holy shit. She knocked on it 3 times. She waited just a couple seconds, and then she turned around and she went to the kitchen with her companion. And at that point, I just fell asleep completely. I didn't wake up again until 6 o'clock in the morning. So I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I had I have like a 5-gallon bucket with like a toilet seat on it that I use as a potty inside the tent, like only for number 1. I never go number 2 in it, but I will utilize it if I'm in my tent for the evening and I don't want to try to trek it back up to the potty tent, up here and around the corner in the middle of the night, just try to go pee, right? So I utilize my bucket, and when I do, I will take it outside, I will clean it out, I'll rinse it out, I'll sanitize it, I'll bring it back in. So I woke up this next morning and I had to pee, and so I peed, and I was about to go outside of the tent to clean it and sanitize it, and I got hit with this full-on exhaustion to where I could barely stand up. And I was like, what is going on? You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go back to bed. I can't stand up anymore. I don't know what's going on. I got to go lay back down. I'll take care of that when I wake up. So that's what I did. I went and I laid back down, and I'm laying there. Not 2 seconds later, I start hearing footsteps around the tent. And I'm like, holy shit. My eyes they go open. I'm laying there. I'm like, they're back. The Sasquatch are back. They're walking around my tent, and I'm listening, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not Sasquatch. And then I heard the purring, and then I realized those are the cougars. There's cougars, and there's multiple. There's not just one. There's 2, and they are circling my tent. And Kevin and Sandy are still asleep. I can hear Kevin snoring. I am laying there in my bed for over a half an hour, wondering what the crap I'm supposed to do. And they keep on circling the tent. So then after this half hour of just like complete silence and just listening to them, boom, it pops into my head. That Sasquatch last night knocked on my tote. I have my keys on my tote. And then that triggered the memory of Kevin at the beginning of the camp out telling me, if you're scared, if anything happens, if you need help, hit your alarm on your key fob, and then it'll alert us and we'll know to come and help. So I'm like, boom, boom, boom. I have to get those keys. And in this one, swoop off the bed, I stand up in the middle of the tent and I grab the keys and I start hitting the alarm button. And at that time, that does alert them. And then they start getting up, and then I'm yelling, cougars, don't come out of your tent, like, be careful, be safe. Oh my God. So, and then we hear the cougars scatter, right? I heard them leave when I hit the alarm. And we're finally able to get out of our tents. We're finally able to like check the scene and see what's going on. I'm finally able to tell them what happened the night before. And we find, I think it was it was either 15 and a half or 18 and a half print, thinner, which fits along with the lines of a female right behind my tent, like right where my head was. That's where we found that print. And we also found cougar prints, and it was a mom and a baby. It was a cub. So I also think back to when I woke up and I used my potty bucket and I was going to step outside. I had no idea, but they were right outside. So here I got hit with this exhaustion that shoved me back into bed. And if I wouldn't have been hit with that exhaustion, I would have walked outside of that tent and been cougar breakfast.
Especially with a cub around.
Yes.
Was this the
Yes.
same place that you saw in the same general area as you saw the footprints?
Which footprints?
The ones in the mud, like
No, that was that was the one and only time I've gone out to Carson, actually. I've never gone back. The footprints were in Yakima area of Washington.
Okay, so but this is an incredible story. I mean, I totally believe that she wanted you to know something was up, and so she must have had foresight into the future
Exactly.
that that's coming.
She had foresight. She knew it was going to happen. She did something that was going to trigger a reaction in the future. And they were there presently when I woke up the next morning, and they did something to me. She did something to me to force me into a place of exhaustion so I wouldn't walk out of that tent.
Yeah. You know, there's a couple, I had a rescue out of the woods, and there's a few elements to your story that very similar to mine. Just the way that they have foresight and how they set things up so that things go according to, you know, your benefit and your well-being. That's an incredible story. So I have to go, but I bet you have a bunch more incredible stories that we're going to share with you tomorrow, and we're going to share more pictures. So do you want to make it at 10 a.m. again for everyone listening?
Yes, 10 a.m. I'll see you there.
All right. Thank you. And thanks everyone for watching. And so on behalf of Pork Cunningham and the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Beans, this has been the Pork and Beans Show. And Ashley, we will have you back, and who knows how long we'll go tomorrow, but we'll probably have more time. And if
Awesome.
Mr. Beans gets done his little thing, maybe he can pop in too.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I absolutely appreciate this opportunity. This has been a phenomenal experience, and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow.
Well,
Brian,
we're gonna
Well, you're the real deal. Thanks for showing up.
Thank
give you
you.
we're gonna do you justice. So we'll take the time to go through anything you want to talk about, and we'll do it upright. So thanks for
Awesome.
coming. And
Yeah, maybe you could get Sandy Nelson or Barb to get on the show if you wanted to, because Sandy was like jumping up and down.
Yeah, more the
Yeah,
merrier.
if you-
Let's all get in
if you want to bring any of them on, let's do it. Ask them if they want to come on, and then just let me know, and I'll check tonight, and we'll get it all going.
Fantastic. Sounds good, man.
Awesome, man. I mean, this is a fantastic show. You're a wonderful guest, and can't wait to go camping with you.
It's going to be fun.
Have a couple of excursions this year, and maybe one day I'll come up here. So, okay, everybody, we will see you tomorrow, and maybe Mr. Beans will show up too. You never know.
If there's tacos, I might show up.
You
Okay,
come
guys.
camping, Mr. Beans, and I will make you tacos.
Oh, he doesn't
And
camp.
I might even refry your beans.
I'd like to see you refry beans.
They all tell me that.
All right, guys, love you.
Love you
See you
too.
tomorrow. See you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.